within the state. And they have to determine whether that law is in conformity with the Constitution. That's what this is saying. And if it's not in conformity with the Constitution, guess what? It's notwithstanding. It's void. That's precisely what this part of that's exactly what this portion of the Constitution is saying. In addition to this, as additional proof, the third paragraph of Article 6 states this. The senators and representatives before mentioned, that's the U.S. senators, U.S. Congress, and the members of the several states' legislature, all the executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Now I've got a question for you. If you have to take an oath to support the Constitution, how can you support the Constitution and enforce an unconstitutional act? Can it be done? I mean, if the law is unconstitutional and you've taken an oath to support the Constitution, aren't you violating the Constitution by supporting that unconstitutional act? Absolutely. Okay? Now, has a state, our state or our counties or our local governments ever violated our Constitution? Have they ever violated that clause? Well, yeah, I'm going to go with the Second Amendment because this is the one that has the most protection that the Founding Fathers gave. Not only is it a privilege, it's not a privilege, it's not downright right. It is a right and an immunity that we have been given. And also, in the verbiage of our Second Amendment, it states that it shall not be infringed. Now take a look at this. The Second Amendment states this: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Is this about us keeping guns or wearing guns and things like this? Yes. No, this is about self-defense. This whole amendment is about us having the ability to defend ourselves. That's the whole purpose of this amendment. Okay? The state gets the security a state gets from the militia is the fact that the militia can defend it when it's being attacked. The reason we keep arms and bear arms is so we can defend ourselves in case we are attacked. This gives us the right to defend ourselves, defend our families, defend our homes, defend our livelihoods. This is what we have immunity. Anytime we go and defend ourselves, we have immunity from the government. They cannot make any laws because, remember, immunity means they can't charge us with a crime. They cannot make us pay fees to do this. We are free from fees. They cannot tax us, and we cannot be sued if we practice any of our rights. Now, there's a lot of people who say, especially our scholars, who say that this amendment only applies to the militia and it's not really applying to the people. And about 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, in the Heller decision, the Supreme Court, in a decision of 5-4, said that yes, this is an individual right. This means that 4 of our Supreme Court justices don't have enough even education to understand what that comma there means. Now, in 1964, even the state of Nevada understood what this Constitution, that this amendment was saying. When they adopted their Constitution, they pretty much copied it, but they emphasized, they separated the two powers. In the state Constitution, Article 1, Section 11, it says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, civil power supreme. Section 1, the very first paragraph says under the state constitution, every citizen has a right to keep and bear arms for security and defense. You can see they understood the purpose. They even spell it out here in our Constitution. For lawful hunting and recreational use, and for other lawful purposes, like police officers carrying arms and security guards carrying arms. These are lawful purposes. So you can see that historically, up to 70 years after our Constitution, they understood that this, the Second Amendment was protecting our right to defend ourselves. Okay, it's an unalienable right. Now, I want to go over to the first part of the Second Amendment first. a lot of people think that this is the clause in the Constitution that gives the state the right to have a militia. No, no. It was well established well before that in the regular Constitution. What this is doing is amending the Constitution. Okay, that's all the second part, this part of the amendment is doing. It's amending these portions right here. In Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, the President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. Also in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it says, to provide the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasion. Those are the only reasons why our militia can be called out. The only three reasons. To provide for the organizing, arming, and disciplining of the militia and governing such part of them as may be employed by the service of the United States, reserving for the United States respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline and prescribed of Congress. These two clauses right here give the appearance that once the militia is called up, that the federal government now has supreme rule, or it has the absolute rule over the militias. And anybody reading that would probably think that what the Second Amendment is doing here is it's putting that power directly back into the government, the state's hands. If the governor or the state determine that the militia is being used for something other than constitutional use, the governor can actually call back the militia, even regardless whether it's in the hands of the president or the federal government at the point in time. The authority of the militia never leaves the state, and that's why we have that portion of the Second Amendment. Now what we're trying to get to, and what's important to this group right here, our rights. You can see clearly that it's saying the right of the people. What people? Militia people? No. The people are us. We're the people in the United States. It says so, we the people in the very first part of the preamble. So that people is the same thing. So it is easy to see that this is actually referring to us. It says we have the right to keep and bear arms. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What we need to do then is find out find the type of protection that our Constitution is giving us. We have to know what definition they meant by keeping and bearing arms. Also, what does it mean by infringe? Okay? What did our founding fathers understand and mean? To what extent were they trying to protect us? Well, the term keep means this. The definition of keep that they understood and what they meant by when they wrote this Constitution, the way it's amendment here. To hold, to retain in one's power or possession, not to lose or part with, as to keep a house or a farm, to keep anything in memory, mind, or heart, to have in custody for security and preservation. So that we are allowed to have weapons of our choice. Any weapon we would like to defend ourselves with, whatever weapons we're comfortable defending ourselves with, whether they be firearms, whether they be swords, knives, whatever the weapon is, even a bat. Okay, we can use that weapon to defend ourselves. There cannot be any restrictions on that type of weaponry. And we are allowed to keep them in our homes, we're allowed to keep them on our person, and we're allowed to keep them in our vehicles and our carriage. Now, what does it mean to bear? To bear, to carry, to convey, to support and remove from place to place. As they bear him upon their shoulders, the eagle beareth him on her wings. To wear, to bear as a mark of authority or distinction, as to bear a sword, of course, that being on your person, a badge, a name, to bear arms in a coat. Okay, naturally I highlighted this last one. Our founding fathers weren't fools. Okay, they understood that most people, when they carry their arms, have them on their belt and keep them on their belt. They also understand that in the colder weather, when you put a jacket on, those weapons are going to be concealed. Okay. Also, there are certain fashions where people would not want to expose their weapons out there. Okay. Even back in those days, they had fashion statements where they didn't want to have their arms exposed. So they were able to conceal them. Our founding fathers had no problem with that. Also, ladies, guess what? You have the right back then to conceal, have bear arms for your self-defense. And women back there, like today, don't normally like to carry firearms or daggers on their person. They would usually carry their derringers, and if they have lady derringers from even way back then, little derringers back then. They even had little lady daggers back then. And they would put them in their purse, and they would put them in their handbags so they could carry them and keep them concealed and have them on their persons for self-defense. So the Constitution, the Second Amendment, is our right to keep and bear concealed weapons. We don't need the county or any other government telling us that we have permission to carry a concealed weapon or carry any type of weapon. Okay? It states right here that it's as clear as can be. This is their understanding. This was their understanding when they wrote this. It's no different now than what it was then. Okay? Now let's look at infringe. What does it mean to infringe? To break. As contracts. To violate either positively by contravention or negatively by non-fulfillment or neglect of performance. A prince or a private person infringes an agreement or a covenant by neglecting to perform its conditions, as well as by doing what is stipulated not to be done. To break, to violate, to transgress, to neglect to fulfill or obey, as to infringe a law. Okay? Let me give an example real quick of how infringe works. Most of us know what encroachment means. When we're talking about land and we're talking about encroachment, if we have property, and let's say we live in property, and we have a driveway, and right there is our property line right here, and our neighbor has a property, and his property is right there, and our driveways are right side by side together. And one day, our neighbor backs his trailer into his driveway. And as he's backing it in, just a little bit, the bumper, just a little bit encroaches on our property. And it's maybe 3 inches, it's just overhanging on 3 inches. That's an encroachment, okay? You can tell your neighbor, hey, look, I noticed your trailer is just encroaching on my property. I would like you just to go ahead and move it and get it back on your property so you're not trespassing. If he says, beat stone, then you can go ahead and call the sheriff and say, hey, look, I want this guy to remove his property. He's trespassing. I've already talked to him that he's trespassing on here, and I want to remove it. Will you tell him that he is encroaching on my property? And at this point in time, the sheriff or the deputy has the right to tell the person and write him a citation because he has trespassed on your property. That's the same thing as infringement. Any breach of the law is an infringement and a trespass on your rights. That's why they use the term infringement when they wrote the Second Amendment. They can make no law at all when it's in regards to your self-defense. And that's what they're talking about. They cannot make any law that would abridge or infringe upon your right to self-defense. Let me give an example. In this state, in this county, we have to, if you buy a handgun, you have to register with the county. Okay, that is an infringement both on the key portion of the Second Amendment, and it's actually, if you look at it in the literal sense, it's also an infringement on the Fourth Amendment right that your persons will be secured, your person and your effects. Okay. The only way that the government has a right to find out what you possess and have on you is if they have probable cause to get a warrant. Okay, that's what the Fourth Amendment states. And you don't want our federal government to force us to register our weapons. It has no value at all. It won't help you from keeping your guns from being stolen. It won't help them find their guns if your guns have been stolen. And if they do recover them, it's like the federal government, they're going to destroy the guns anyway if it was used in a crime anyhow. So it really doesn't support anything, but it does, if you take a look at the historical incidents. The first thing the Nazis did when they invaded both Poland and Czechoslovakia was go into the police stations, check the weapons registrations, and then they would knock on everybody's door. They would either take the weapons or they would make the people disappear. And they would go into concentration camps. The only reason governments want to have registration of weapons is so they know who has them, so they can go find them and go get them. That's why I'm totally against registration of weapons. Another violation that we do quite common in the county is take a look at, or carry, if you want to carry, you have to get a permit, okay, to carry a concealed weapon. We have immunity. One of the immunity is we will not have to pay fees to work enforce our right. And one of our fights is to keep concealed weapons. So by charging a fee, they've already violated that right. They've already violated the Constitution. It is a crime for anybody a government to violate the Constitution. So if they try to enforce it, they're actually committing a criminal act by enforcing that law. Another thing that they can't do, well, it's also a violation of the fact that you are able to carry concealed weapons. So the law that they made saying that you can only carry a concealed weapon if you do this, that's an infringement as well. So you can see that, this is irritating. Susan's telling me I have only 4 minutes left. As you can see, they cannot infringe on our rights. They cannot make any breaches, any laws, not at the state level, not at the county level, not even at the municipal level. Certain laws, like one municipal, like you go to Henderson, you cannot have a dagger. You can't even carry it on your person. In Las Vegas, you can carry a dagger as long as it is exposed, open carry. Both those laws are illegal because the government cannot tell you how you defend yourself. They cannot tell you what weapon you feel comfortable defending yourself with. You can defend yourself with anything. Now, can they make any laws? The Constitution only protects defensive weapons. It does not protect offensive weapons. Anybody who commits a crime is on the offense. So when a person's committing a crime and they're carrying any type of weapon, whether they're using that weapon or not, and they just have it on them, it becomes an offensive weapon. Now, our legislators can make laws regarding that. They can make laws saying that if you're caught with a weapon while in the commission of a crime, you will be sentenced to 20 years in life or whatever. They can do that, but they cannot say what kind of weapon you are going to use to defend yourself. And that is how much protection our founding fathers gave us when they wrote the entire Constitution. That's the presentation.
Oh, good God.
Thank you so much, Richard. And I really wish we had more time and I had more endurance to learn more about the Constitution because it is very important. And we do have a vast amount of power through the Constitution that most of us don't even know about. So I wish we could spend more time with that, but we have other things that we need to get to. And I forgot to mention the significance of the blue tarp when we were talking about Lavoy Finicum. When he was at the refuge in Oregon, he was interviewed by somebody in the media, and it was so cold there that he was out performing his watch duties. They rotated watch duties, and it was in the middle of the night, and it was very, very cold. And so he covered himself up in his little chair with a tarp to keep the air off of him and the wind and all of that. And so the media then mockingly dubbed him Tarp Man. And the family has embraced that image and the name. And so now this symbolizes Lavoy Finicum. And so I put my little blue tarp on my lapel. So we have blue tarps back there in pins. If you'd like to go get one, you're welcome to it. So now we enter what I like to call the speed dating portion of the program. And this is where the candidates are allowed to present themselves to you. And I'm going to introduce Stan Vaughn first, and then we'll just go from there. So if you're a candidate, get in line and get ready to get up here and tell everybody who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stan Vaughn.
Thank you very much.
Great hat.
My name is Stan Vaughn. My website is stanvaughn.org. And every time I come, I try to give you a little more education about a few issues that I think should be important to you. So I think it's very appropriate tonight. I'm going to go off of what he just mentioned and he talked about Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. And one of the important things that he brought up tonight was about treaties, about how treaties are part of the law of the land, supreme law of the land. And it also talks about how the executive branch and legislative branch of the states are bound to respect these treaties. So it's very interesting. My opponent in 2013 proposed a bill in this state, and this guy is a graduate of William Boyd Law School. And yet, this particular treaty was the 1946 treaty on the regulation of inter-American automotive traffic. And in that treaty, in Section 4, it says that the state can only issue driver license or privilege cards to those who are citizens of that state. All right? And so, in other words, when they passed this law, they violated the treaty, the 1946 treaty that the United States signed, and the federal government is supposed to enforce this. That the governor signed this into law. All of these legislators said, we're going to violate this treaty, even though it says we can't issue treaties to illegal aliens or to non-citizens. They went ahead and did it and violated that. So I thought that was very important that people should know what's our recourse. You see, this is what's happening. We have complete disrespect for the law in this state. Now, I want to mention a couple of other things just really quick before I go. In the book of, he was asking a question earlier. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question. Because Samuel Adams said that what we want to do is found a government based on John Locke's 2 treaties of government. And in the 2 treaties of government, he said that only the laws can be made that do not violate the Old and New Testament. So they specifically mention the Bible. All right? So I wanted to mention that. In the book of Hosea, it says, the people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and through knowledge the just are delivered. So I want to talk about another important thing that's being talked about, and he talked about unalienable or inalienable rights, that you can't, those rights are very important. So George Washington, after they asked him as president of the Constitutional Convention, what do we give allegiance to? Are we giving allegiance to a new government? And he goes, no. Allegiance, as we understand that term, is due to no government. It is due only to the paramount power, the people of each individual state, or those that, in their sovereign character as a state, are the parties to this Constitution that make or change or create a delegated authority of federal government. That is the paramount authority, the people themselves, not the government. Now, he said the power under the Constitution will always be in the people themselves. This is George Washington saying this. It is entrusted for a certain defined purpose, for a certain limited period, to representatives of their choosing. And if they violate that, the servants can be recalled. Now, the last thing I want to mention is, here we have the problem. We have the state constitution, and what do we have in our state constitution? It says we don't respect the Constitution in our state constitution, because it says the paramount allegiance of the people of the state is not to themselves as sovereigns. What? It is rather to the government of the United States as subjects. We're the only state in the United States that has this in our state constitution. It says further that the people of this state waive their right to secession. All right? But we just talked about you can't waive rights. And that's what we had in Coyle versus Smith at the Supreme Court. A state cannot waive its rights to the public lands. We had in the first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, that no state can be deprived of any of its territory for the benefit of the federal government. This led to in the second Constitution, the one that we're currently under, the Equal Footing Clause, that every state, but Nevada is a second-class state. We've waived our rights, supposedly, but Coyle versus Smith says in 1911 in the Supreme Court, a state can't waive its rights. So what we have here is I want to get elected so that I can repeal some of these unconstitutional clauses. And the idea also, they add one more clause to this, that if we attempt to reclaim our rights, the federal government may employ armed force against the citizens of Nevada. So, what do we have? We have the Bundy problem.
Amen.
And I am running for U.S. Senate. We've never seen a U.S. Senator. Mike McCloskey, let me tell you where I just came from. It's time, isn't it? Yeah. Every year for the last 12 years, one of our American Legion posts here, Post 149, does a wonderful run called Rock the Troops. And what they do with these funds is they help our local military community. And this is the 12th year. There was over 300 bikers there today. It was just wonderful. So I came straight from that. Normally, I do have nice clothes. I do have nice clothes. The reason I am running for U.S. Senate is over the past few years, my veterans, and there is a reason why I call my veterans my veterans. But they have asked me at several events if I would run for office. And at first I thought it was a joke. I do a lot of rallies and poker runs and events that raise money for very specific 501c3s that help our veteran community. And one of them was the Fisher House, which, if you guys are familiar, just opened a couple of months ago. So we're real proud of that. And the other one is through the Veterans Care Foundation, the Veterans Transition Resource Center. It just had a soft opening the other day, and this will have over 29 different categories of ways to help our veterans and their families at no charge to the veterans. So this is wonderful. From suicide prevention to marriage counseling, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's over off of Aliante, and it's right off of 215. So this is why I was pulled into this political drama. I am not a politician. I am a very proud American. Daughter of a World War II veteran, wife of a U.S. Navy veteran. And I just believe we need to put our veterans first. We have over 600,000 homeless Americans across the United States on any given night of the year. And that number, as you know, is fluid. And as the economy gets worse, well, the number rises. Over a third of that number are veterans. And it's, we just need to do more. We need to do a lot more to help our veterans. So this is why I am running for office. Yes, I do ride. I am a Second Amendment advocate. I'm a veterans advocate. I believe in putting America first. I am quite the constitutionalist, and I want to thank you very much for your informative. Every time you come, I learn something, so thank you very much. And that is it. If you have any questions, you can see me at denisedavis.com, DNESEDAVIS.com. I do have some brochures here, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
So, you probably don't know me, but that's fine because you were going to. So, I am Tim Patara. I am a California native. I apologize for being grants, but I promise I'm a good Californian. I'm one of the few. I am running for Congress in District 4, which is North Las Vegas, up to just below Carson City. Let me tell you why I'm running. I'm a political activist. That's what I do. It's what gets me out of bed every day. That's what I've always done. And I decided to run because I've worked on 15 campaigns. I've been in every position from the guy who holds the signs to the guy who says, hey, you should vote for this guy and give him money. I've done it all, twice over, up and down. I got tired of wasting my time, my money, my blood, my sweat, my tears on candidates who are just politicians. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm done with it. I want to see these people. They need to be gone. I mean, you think about how you go to an office, you just see, man, is this guy still in politics? Is he still in office? Is he still in power? Yeah, they are. They're all over the place. So here's my kind of short little story here. I'm 27 years old. I'm running in the 2018 district election. So I'll be about a little over 29 when I get elected into power, if I get elected. So I'll be your congressman for your 4th district. I will still be within working age by the time the consequences of my votes come to fruition. So think about that for a second. You're worried about your kids, worried about your grandkids, worried about future generations. I'll still be working when the consequences of whatever I vote on are going to come around. So I got to think twice about when I vote for some yay on something or nay on something, how it's going to affect my own life just for me being selfish, but let alone your family as well. That's one reason you should vote for me. Second reason, I'm a political activist. So let me tell you why you should vote for a political activist versus a politician. Politicians want to identify the issue, want to fight about the issue, and then want to, maybe get around to the issue eventually. Political activists are separate. Political activists have a goal. They say, here's the problem, here's the solution, what do we got to do to get to the solution, how do we solve the problem? We have a one-track mind, that's what we do. I've been doing it ever since I was in high school. Think about myself, deal with other people, that's what I do. So I have a few campaign promises. Number one, after the expenses of my office, I will pay myself minimum wage. You're probably wondering, okay, so why? Not because minimum wage should go up, because that doesn't solve anything, but because our cost of living is too high. There's no reason, with all this land available, you should be short of housing. Why your dollar can't stretch any farther, why your $20 bill can't buy you some groceries. There's no reason gas should be this high when we have all kinds of oil everywhere in like every other state. This is ridiculous. People always tell me like, well, so why pay them minimum wage? Because I don't believe a politician or anyone who gets in power should go into office and come out and double their net worth. That is not the way our servants should be treating themselves. And they want another raise. Can you believe this? It's ridiculous. So what I'm going to do, you're saying, okay, so with the rest of the money, what are you going to do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you're in my district, you can go to my website, timothy4patara.com. You can vote on the charity of your choice. Doesn't matter to me. You're the people. It's your tax dollars. It's your money. Here's what I'm going to do. Every month, deduct on my website how much money for groceries, rent, whatever I got to do to live, basically. Then take out my $330 a week for minimum wage, and the rest goes into a separate pot. And that goes to the charity. You'll be able to track every single month how much money is going towards charity at the end of the year. At the end of the year, what I do is I divvy it up with percentage points. Whatever charity goes to what, that's who gets it. You guys get to vote. It's not my money. It's your money. It's your tax dollars. And that's what I think a true servant people should be doing, taking care of their people. As you can tell, this is probably not going to be very popular among other constitutionalists and other politicians, people in power. Come on, you make us look bad. That's fine. But guess what? I'm going to vote no a lot. A whole lot. Because I don't think you should give $1 billion to Iran, but yet for our homeless veterans, give less than $200 million. That is ridiculous. You should not give countries that hate us and burn our flag billions of dollars in foreign aid. That is ridiculous. My brothers and sisters did not die overseas for you to just erase their memory. It's not right. Our government wastes so much freaking money, it isn't unimaginable. I mean, I can think off the top of my head, maybe, and I'm stretching it to maybe 5 countries that deserve foreign aid. I'm talking good friends, like the Republic of Georgia, who still left troops in Iraq while they were being invaded in their capital city by Russia. And George Bush did nothing and didn't send in NATO. That's their whole job. NATO's whole job is to counter Russian aggression. That was his failure on his side of the aisle. Barack Obama, don't even get me started. That guy's a joke. Has way more problems than he should even try to count. So here's what we should do. I'm in favor of intervention overseas, only if it benefits America. I've been overseas. I served in the Global War on Terror, disabled Army vet, military police. Woo! So, I understand the need for aggressive foreign policy and filling the needs for American foreign influence. I understand that when America is not at the forefront of the international stage, countries like China build bases in our neighbors in the East and Asia. People like Russia, they threaten countries that should be our friends. Ukraine should be a NATO neighbor. Ukraine should be one of our best freaking friends, but they're not because they're scared of Russia, and Obama does nothing. He transfer control of NATO over to Germany and Sweden. Well, we should be at the forefront of international politics. That's where we belong. That's how you lead the world. I would rather live in an American-led world than a Chinese or Russian world. So I understand the need for foreign policy. However, this debacle in Syria is a joke. I would have never committed troops to that. I would never have supported that anyway because both sides hate us. So I'm here to tell you how it's going to work. My second campaign promise, if I vote to send our boys and our girls downrange to fight, I will ask the President of the United States to send an executive order to send me with them. As long as I'm still able to fight and hold a rifle and march, jump, and shoot, I want to go with our brave men and women because I've never asked my soldiers to do anything I couldn't do, and I won't ask our brave patriots to do anything I would not do myself. So if I'm voting for them to go down range, I'm going with them, throwing me a rough. Let's go, let's get this done. Let's come back home safe and sound. Campaign promise number 3. You ever notice when election time comes by and you see all kinds of, political offices open up? Oh yeah, come talk to this guy for this, or your congressman has an office open on Tuesdays, noon for 2 hours. Well, no, not me. I want a campaign office in your district year round. Every one of them in, come talk to me. You're my staff. I will get a hold of you. I want you to get a hold of me. I cannot fix a problem if I don't know it's broken. I want you guys to let me know what's happening while you, because I cannot be an effective statesman if I don't know the problem. So that's number 3. Number 4, I don't know if you guys know this, but our Vietnam veterans have never had a war federally recognized. Never.
Boo!
Yeah, it's 2016. Seriously, it takes this long. That was before 1988. I should not be having this problem. But guess what? Day 1, I'm going to skip the whole welcome to Congress phase and first day as congressman. And I'm marching down Pennsylvania after. And I'm going to gather as many veterans and people and patriots as I possibly can. We're not pulling one permit. I'm not asking the federal government or any other government permission to welcome my brothers to this home because we have veterans dying in the streets right now because they're homeless or they take their own lives or suffering from things. That is a disgrace. That is a failure of government on all levels because our veterans should not suffer like this. So I'm not asking permission from anyone to welcome my brothers and sisters home. That's my 4th campaign promise. Day 1, I'm going to do that and make sure at least Nevada's 4th district welcomes home our great patriots and they know someone's out there looking out for them on the federal level.
Woo! Go boy!
So, basically, here's the thing. I'm running in 2018. You're probably wondering, why are you here? You're wasting my time. I really hope I'm not. Because, one, I want to present to you what I call the millennial generation statement. This is what I call me and my other friends who are running for relatively young. We are running because millennials feel entitled to something. I don't know what it is. I never did. I was not raised like that. So when I go to college campuses, I tell them, look, you're entitled to one thing, and one thing only in this world, to get up off your butt, to grow up, and to take your country back. Because you fight the wars, you pay the taxes, you're not getting Social Security, and you're going to suffer the consequences of everyone else in office. So that's kind of why I'm running. I lost 6 brothers downrange. They're going to come back home. And I just kind of figured, how do I best honor them? I've always been a political activist. I've always been a veteran supporter. I've always tried to help out people that I can. Generally be a good citizen, but you can't do that when the federal government has the shackles over your throat. They're taking on your money and they're making your costs look less. So I want to help all Americans, no matter what side of the aisle. That's why, I think with the exception of 2 people, my whole campaign staff is below 35. I think it's got to be close to half or even a little more are all veterans because the veteran community is coming together. Because no one takes care of the veterans like the veterans. And we're coming together to solve the problem of veteran homelessness. On my website, I have a plan to solve veteran homelessness in 3 to 5 years. To solve homelessness in general in 5 to 10 years. Even if it takes longer, it's still a step in the right direction. But at least we're getting solutions out there. And that's why I think investing in today's political spirit. You got people on both sides of the building that are not solving anything. You got Trump and Cruz yelling about each other's wives. You don't care. How are you going to fix America? Who cares about your wives? Here's my thing. You need a new voice, a new generation to step up. And I'm trying to get the millennials in the game because we're the ones that are going to suffer the consequences. Now, whoever you're voting for doesn't really matter. I'm more concerned with long-term confidence. So, presidential elections aside, I think we need more compromising Congress. I'm not saying cave in on your principles. I'm about as right when this can be. However, I understand to compromise and get an issue done, you got to meet the middle. You can't sit there and go, I'm right, you're wrong, and expect things to get done. Why do you think, taxes are so high, the budget's never solved, illegal immigration is still a problem since the 80s? I mean, all these things are still a problem. And the reason being because no one's willing to compromise. I have an immigration plan that would solve the whole immigration plan, separates the border issue from the legal immigrants. And I think it's fair and it's compromising on both sides. Marriage is the same thing. I think the government shouldn't be involved in marriage at all. But how I fix that is by making the tax system change. So it's not incentivized to rely on your marriage for whatever purpose at all. So if you check out my website, I'm always adding issues. You might learn way more about it than you never want to know. But at least you get, a game plan of how I view things. And I think that's important because while most people get in the office and they give you a website, they'll tell you something like, I support the Second Amendment. I'm pro-gun. Yeah. Okay, well, murder's wrong. And, I can tell you what blanket statement's all wrong too. My website's different. I give you the exact thought process of what I think and how I think. And the reason I do that is because I want you guys to understand where I'm coming at on a vote. How I view it. I think the government screws up just about everything it touches, including the military. So I think, to give them more power or to give them more information or more stretch over something, it's just getting on it to me. What I want to do in general is kick more stuff down to the states. For example, the VA health system. Our VA health system is a joke. I personally didn't want to think it's a bigger joke. And it's a lot of waste of money. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars wasted on giant hotel looking at hospitals that don't do anything. Because you can't see a doctor for 6 months to 8 months at a time. Every appointment. So what I want to do is change the healthcare system to the VA and split it from the federal level to the state level. That way, every state is already managing its own hospitals, but the responsibility lies with the states. So if the state has poor reviews by veterans, and no veterans are retiring in the state or leaving to that state after service, well, what happens? Well, your system probably sucks. That's why Nevada has a lot of veterans, because they make the extra effort as far as the state government to take care of the veterans. I think a free market approach like that to any issue is how you solve problems. So you diversify the government, make sure it's not as big on the federal level.
I'll give you a buzz now. Can I text you at that number too?
That's kind of my approach to it. But Timothy for Congress.com, look me up. I look forward to talking to you for 2 more years, 5 minutes. You'll see me again.
Hello, my name is Tom Jones. I'm running for the United States Senate. My website is tomjones.com. I have a blog on there that I put on issues that I'm dealing with. I have suggestions that plans that I'd like to implement. But give you an overall of I'm pro-God, pro-country, pro-family, and pro-constitution. I'm against illegal aliens. I'm against increased taxes. And I'm against big brother government. And one of the things I feel that we really have to do, it's a local issue, it's a state issue, but I think we have to address the issue of government overreach here in Nevada. We're talking about the Bundy incident, we're talking about the government taking our lands, and myself, Mike Little, who will probably be speaking shortly, and Warren Markowitz just sent a letter to the governor, telling him that it's about time that our governor did something to get Nevada lands, because we own the lands, especially in Clark County here, and parts of Nye and up through Lincoln and White Pine. We have a lot of proof that says that we own the land, and I'm asking Mike Little to come up here and tell you more about it, because we're getting involved with an action if the governor doesn't act. And, we're working to get, we feel that if we can prove that owns the land, the government has no standing in their action against Bundy. They overreached their rights. They said, "Are terrorists out to take Bundy's cows and his land from him?" And he was just defending himself. He was just talking about we have a right to defend our property. So if it was government's land, and we feel that we can prove that it is, that the government overreached their authority. Mike, could you come up here? I'd like to have Mike Little, and have him talk to you a little bit about this letter that was sent to the governor, demanding that do something about the land that is rightfully Nevada. And we feel that we can prove without a doubt that Clark County and this other portion is Nevada's, which will then allow us to take over and work on the rest of the Nevada land that the government owns. Mike, are you ready to come up? Mike Little will be able to tell you more about it. We're also trying to stage a rally, a protest Sunday at 1 o'clock at the Harrison Correction.
That was my traveling buddy. Thanks, Tom. Hey, I am running, although I'm but that's not the focus. I'm focusing on taking that. And if he does that, that's good at it. One of the big issues we find is we spend a lot of time on the jailhouse. And I've done a lot of work to come up with the congressional act of 1866, actually gave to the state of Nevada as public and so we're now pushing for a Take Back Netherlands pieces that came into the state after our Constitution. So any help you can get us? I have only one question. The only reason I came here was to ask a couple of questions. Not to insult them. Does everyone know the difference between U.S. Article 1 and Article 3? Do you know the difference? What would be the difference? Okay. Does everyone know the difference between Article 4 and Article 6?
Lay it on us.
No, he probably knows the difference. Is that right?
Yeah, but I was doing it.
It's the same issue. The reason I ask is we've got a webpage going on, and I need to make sure that I put the correct information that reaches you. So when you go into an administrative, we're going to go in Nevada, you're going to go into an Article 4, constitutional rights, you'll go into an Article 6. Those are the rules. But you'll never make it to the 6, I assure you. So I appreciate it. We're going to have an event Sunday afternoon at the Henderson Jail with 5 guys. And we're also, I believe, former gal Davis is having a Monday burger Saturday. So we're quiet to take care of that land. If you'd like to find out, give us a contact with Tom and we'll put you on the list to let you know. We'll send you all this information so you can roll through it. It's going to be on a Project 1792 page. Is that what we have? Okay. So I won't bore you with all the things that I'm going to promise to tell you that I'm going to do. Like the reality is, a freshman congressional member in Washington would be like giving you a toothpick to go to war in that environment. So very unlikely to get much accomplished. Plus you'll be fighting with the subject. So anyways, I appreciate your time very, very much. And who's up next? Pardon? Oh, great. Would you come right up here? Come right up here. She's going to help us. She's going to help us.
Yeah. You know what? I do.
Okay, everybody. So this is the conclusion of another Las Vegas Tea Party Town Hall meeting. I want to thank all the candidates for coming. I want to thank Richard Brittner. And I want to remind everybody that Las Vegas Tea Party does these events to educate the public and to get you involved with who you're voting for. Keep in mind the candidates you see here are the candidates who are most involved all the time, and they're the ones who care. There are a lot of people who get invited and not all of them come. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to make a note. I want everybody to keep note of this. I always invite an elected representative or two to come and speak to help you understand that they do respond and that it does do good to get involved. And today's invitee was Nevada State Assemblyman John Moore, who, if you don't know, was involved in the Malheur Refuge incident after a boy was shot. There were 3 representatives from Nevada who went to Oregon to help defend the remaining patriots who were at the refuge. One was Nevada State Assemblywoman Shelley Shelton, who was here last month. Nevada State Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore, who could never be reached. And Nevada State Assemblyman John Moore. And Mr. John Moore decided to go to LA at the last minute today and didn't arrive here today. So just keep that in mind when it comes time to vote. We've had several events recently. One was a rally that we had, I think it was last weekend. I don't remember if my days run together. And John Moore promised to go to that event as well and did not show up to that one either. So just remember all of this when you're voting. And I'm not saying that I don't like John Moore or that he's not a good guy, but you know, when you make promises, you have to keep them. And I also want to remind everybody too that, you know, it does do good to get involved. And Las Vegas Tea Party and all the other tea parties are not what you think they are. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to the media about anything. If you're listening to media about anything, it should be what time to go get a snack in between the shows that you're watching. That's all they're good for. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Get involved, educate yourselves, learn the Constitution, stand up for your rights. It's your power. Use it. Thank you all for coming.
Yay!
Somebody give me a shot.
I will call you Monday. I'll send you an email tomorrow while we're talking Monday. And Mr. Little here is offering to So wouldn't that be fun? It just, I just thought it was just,
Travel all over the state, do it on one trip.
I love it. Yeah.